welcome to the Natural Healing Reel. I'm Jackie, and my guest today is Anthony DiNobile. Anthony is a board certified holistic nutritionist. He is the president of his local Ducati motorcycle club, and he enjoys working out and playing with his dogs. Welcome, Anthony, to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation to be here.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you here. So, we are going to be talking about chronic illnesses,
Mhm.
and um, you have a specialty in autoimmune
Mhm.
illnesses and nutrition and a whole background. Where did this all start for you?
It's an interesting story, but what we're finding, and I'll circle back around. What we're finding, you mentioned autoimmune. We truly believe the way things are going, at least here in the States, that every sickness, disease is going to be reclassified as autoimmune disease. So it's really wild times. But how I got into this? So you had Kirsten on your show. She she's my wife and my boss. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Love it.
Uh, when we met on Match.com, and shortly after we started dating, she was diagnosed with celiac, which is an autoimmune disease of the gut. And then shortly after that, she was diagnosed with a second autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune of the thyroid. So at the time, I wasn't even into nutrition, health, anything that I do now. But I was always into working out. Always loved nutrition, always fascinated by the human body. So I'm like, let me pursue that route. I was in information technology, IT at the time. Loved it, but it was just time for me to do something different. So long story short, Kirsten, we don't recommend anybody does this, but she opened up a restaurant that was all like allergen-free foods. And then that evolved into a restaurant wellness center. At the time, I left IT and I opened a gym, which great experience. But it's a lot of money. It's a big investment. Anyway, sold that, and I started working with Kirsten. But when during the ownership of the gym, there was some downtime, so I went back to school and I studied holistic nutrition. Kirsten pretty much already had the holistic nutrition certification. We both went through the same course. It's a 2,000-hour course, so it's not like you just learn about protein, fat, and carbohydrates. It's a real intense 2 to 3 year, 2,000-hour course.
Nice.
And then I came on board with Nourish. Here's our logo. Came on board with Nourish, and I started working with clients on interpreting labs and just helping them with nutrition, supplementation, the things of that nature. While Kirsten pretty much did the same, and since then we both evolved much deeper into areas of expertise, and it's a good balance, like we were talking about before. It's a really good balance. So that's the short of it.
That's great. So you both started up your own businesses at the same
Mhm.
time in the midst of, isn't that ridiculous what we do to ourselves?
Yep, it's not boring.
But all for good reason. So let's go over what an autoimmune disease is, first of all.
Sure. Good question. A lot of people don't know, about. I never heard of it before Kirsten, But like, you look at the words autoimmune, it doesn't really make sense, or it's not obvious by the name what it means. Most people figure out it has something to do with your immune system, but in short, what it is, and there's many reasons, energetic reasons, lifestyle reasons that this can happen. But our immune system essentially serves two jobs in our body. One job is to protect us from bacteria, viruses, parasites, those kind of things. The other job that the immune system has that a lot of people don't realize is to help us heal. So when we cut ourselves or stub our toe, there's a reason that there's inflammation, and there's a reason that there's a physiological response. It's your immune system comes and cleans up the damaged cells. So what an autoimmune disease is your immune system is actually going after your own body. It's going after your own cells and tissues for, again, one of many different reasons. But the most common, and I believe it was the first autoimmune disease discovered was called is Hashimoto's autoimmune of the thyroid. So in that case, the immune system is attacking and killing thyroid cells faster than the body makes them. And it's just a matter of time before there's thyroid dysfunction, before there's thyroid hormone imbalances. And that's really detrimental, obviously, to the body. So it's autoimmune is your immune system's attacking a certain part of your body. There are in almost 200 autoimmune diseases. Even recently, I kind of hit upon before, all heart disease. So any heart condition is now reclassified as autoimmune. So if someone has a heart attack, now that's an autoimmune disease. There's 3 types of diabetes. Those are all reclassified as autoimmune disease as well. And the list just grows and grows and grows. And what's really mind-blowing, Jackie, is here in the States, our population is 300 million-ish people.
Yeah.
40% of those people of the population is walking around with autoimmune disease. Is that insane?
Well, it is. And so my sister, she had Addison's disease and almost died from it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I guess the skin looks very dark and tanned. And that is one of the giveaways for it. So thankfully, they were able to diagnose her before they lost her. And my understanding, which is not anywhere's, it's just hearsay type stuff, not any background like you have, is that they don't know why. And so they've just classified it as autoimmune because they don't understand why that's happening in all the cases. Is that truth? Or is that kind of just a hearsay?
I love that question. So no disrespect to the conventional medicine and the medical community, but when a doctor goes to medical school, of the 4 years, they get 2 hours of nutrition training. They get a year of pharmaceutical training, and they're essentially taught. We have clients that are doctors, so this is not speculation. This is what.
No,
what
I've
they
heard
tell
that
us.
before. I've heard that actually many times before. So that I get that that's a true statement for sure.
Yep. So they're taught to diagnose, and then they're taught to treat symptoms with pharmaceuticals. They're not taught how to I get it, but why don't we see what's causing the issue and attack that rather than just treating symptoms? So we, Kirsten, and all our coaches at Nourish, being holistic, we look at the body as a whole and we go after root causes, which can be physical, mental, and or emotional.
Yes. And I feel for myself through my journey of life that a lot of I'm very thankful at this age that I've not had, besides, some depression and, anxiety, that kind of stuff, that it is emotional, and it's emotions that I've stuffed and stored over many, many years, which I've learned is called shadow work. Those things that we just, there's something in there, but you don't know what, you don't know why, and you don't know how to get to it. And through my face planting multiple times, I think kind of gotten into the root core of it. And it's funny because it's not scary, we're not bad, we're not any of these things, but because we don't know, we don't have the education and the knowledge like you have, we think we're bad somehow, like we're not right, or you don't want anybody to know, or we're not enough. It's back to that not enough statement, I believe. And so I feel that a lot of mine has been emotional storage and generationally passed through a lot of the patterns. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Kirsten's expertise is more in helping people with the emotional. We all have them. We all have stuff that happened to us emotionally. Then there's also physical traumas. There's other kind of traumas as well that also play a role. but no doubt it's scientifically proven. There's plenty and plenty of evidence and case studies that emotions, even on a genetic level, emotions play a role in physiology, biochemistry, and things like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we don't even know that we're doing it. We're
Yeah,
so unaware that
it's habit.
what we're doing to ourselves because
Yep.
we've just watched it and there's been no awareness
Right.
until
Just
well
just the
after
just the habit,
just starting,
yep.
right?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have these thoughts. The thoughts create feelings and emotions. The feelings and emotions create chemistry in the body, and that chemistry signals genes to express or not express. The genes that express create proteins, and it's the proteins that are created that determine health or disease.
that's really interesting. And was I listening to? It might have been Dr. Joe talking.
Dispenza, yeah,
Yes, he's my
he's
favorite.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I've done a few of his courses, and
awesome.
yeah, got canceled out on a couple during the COVID one, which was very unfortunate.
Oh, bummer.
I know he was doing one, the Three Amigos, with Bruce Lipton, um, Greg Braden, and him, and it was a week long in Maui that I had signed up for, and like what a trip of a lifetime, right? And it was
Seriously.
anyway, it got canceled because of the COVID. I was like, wow.
You look like you're in Maui right now.
I do, don't I? Because my backdrop is not working properly, so we just put us at the beach. um, anyway, they were saying that twins, genetically totally
Yeah.
identical, right?
Mhm.
That if one twin goes and lives in another home, that their body and genetics changes
Mhm.
to their environment,
Yep.
which is quite interesting as
Mhm.
well. So what we're surrounded by, it's kind of what we're, I guess, we're saying too, right? Kind of the
Yep.
thoughts and the emotions
Sure.
and everything. So you've got a genetically identical twins, just a carbon
Mhm.
copy is what they're saying, but put in a different environment will have
Mhm.
different health issues
Yeah.
based on the fact of their environment and their experiences.
Yep.
So it's
Exactly.
not as genetic, well, I'm going to have a heart attack because my parents had a heart attack, which is what we're all doing,
Right.
right? Well, my mom had diabetes, so of course I'm going to have diabetes.
Right.
Well, there you go. You get to have it.
Right.
Right?
You can't play the victim. You can't play the victim and say you're destined to, like you're saying, I'm destined to have a heart condition. I'm destined to have this because my parents, grandparents had it. And what we're talking about right now is epigenetics. And that's not, it's scientifically proven that's not the case, but you can think yourself into, and you're right with your environment. It's not, we have two environments. We have our outer environment and our inner environment, and our body will always believe the inner environment first, but it's the outer environment that creates the chemistry on the inner environment. But yeah, you're 100% correct. I love it.
Well, I thank you for saying that because I love this stuff. I just can't get enough of it. I just think it's phenomenal how we are so like our energy and this knowledge. Like,
Yeah.
say, if we understood it, we probably wouldn't have all of this disease and illness and the core root
Yeah.
stuff that we're talking about that we don't know about because we're just unaware that that's where it all comes from.
It's
But
funny, we're the only species. Sorry to cut you off.
no,
We're the only species that seeks counsel for nutrition and emotional. It's. Can you imagine a cow going up to another cow and saying, "Hey, man, what are you eating these days?" It is interesting. You're
that's a
right.
good analogy. It is. It's that simple, right?
Yep.
Because we're not listening. We're not stopping and dropping in to pay attention, right?
Hmm. Yep.
But we've not been taught that.
Exactly.
And so how do you how do you go about offering and helping people, like share with us how people can kind of learn
Yeah.
and understand what it is, like what is the process um, that you like to, was it the formula? What's your formula?
Yeah, there you go. That's I never heard anybody refer to it like that, but it's our healing model formula. Totally, great word for it. we found that there's there's three things back to autoimmune disease and chronic illness. There's three things that cause autoimmune disease. There's three things that cause chronic illness. And the first is the genes. So we talked about the genes a little bit, the epigenetics a little bit. Just because you have the gene doesn't mean that the gene's going to express and you're going to get that thing. But if you're genetically predisposed, you have the gene, but other things have to happen in order for that condition gene to express. So genetics is one. The second is leaky gut. I'm sure you and plenty of your viewers have heard about leaky gut. And then the third thing is some kind of trigger or trauma to get the ball rolling. So the trigger trauma could be childbirth. We hear so often from our clients, once I had baby number 2 or 3 or 1, then everything just, so that's an example of trauma. It could be, God forbid, a car accident, but a lot of it is emotional. Abusive parents that were alcoholics, sexual abuse, things like that when you were younger. But those three things are essentially what gets the ball rolling. So our formula to reverse those symptoms and conditions is nutrition, science, which is like the lab interpretation, identifying nutrient deficiencies, insufficiencies, dysfunctions in the organs, glands, systems, things like that, and working on the traumas, or what we call the soul, like spelled a little different than your dog's name, but the soul part of us, is inherently who we are as a person. Because by the time people get to us, they've been through so many doctors, spent a lot of money. They just don't know who they are anymore. Their identity is lost. They want their identity back. So we help them with that. And that is, you hit upon it before, Jackie. That's the biggest piece of the three. They're all important, but the soul work is huge in the grand scheme.
Yeah, and I know for myself, right, as well, that yeah, it's so that the mind, the body, and the soul, right? There's that whole, and it has to all be looked at and dealt with, right? Because otherwise you're not in balance. You don't have the full circle to roll with, let's say.
Yeah,
Your ball's
no
got a
pun
flat end
intended.
if it's not blown up if you don't get it. But but I think that I was having this conversation actually last night because we were talking about religion and spirituality. And so I was explaining that my whole life I didn't grow up around with any information. I was totally ignorant to all religion because my parents both had a bad experience. Not that they shared that with me until I was an adult, putting my daughter through private school, which she wanted to go to, and having my own experiences with religion. But the difference, and so of course I didn't like any of the religion because I was ignorant to it. I didn't like some of the rules. I didn't feel like I could go there and be who I was authentically because I wasn't, I like to go and have some drinks on the weekend, and I wasn't that perfect person per se that I thought that you're supposed to be able to go to church. Or it's all of that ignorance that lies around it, first of all. But that spirituality, I'm like, it's not religion. What it is knowing thyself. So religion is knowing to pray to somebody outside, to somebody else is going to fix you, all of that. Spirituality is about knowing thyself. We don't know ourselves. Like I certainly didn't. And then we're always changing and then going through big traumatic experiences. Well, who am I now? Who am I now? How do I see myself now? I had a daughter pass and took on her daughter and had a bunch of family members. Like, who am I now? I'm different than where I was or who I once thought I was. So this is this evolving awareness, I think, that I don't believe we have that understanding of. Like, how do you love yourself? Am I loving myself? Oh, I found out I wasn't loving myself. Okay, well, how do I love myself? And how do I know that I'm loving myself? Well, I went from massage. Okay, well, that was an hour. like it's that kind of thing that we were
Yeah,
discussing last night. And I think that what you're talking about is that, right? Is
yeah,
the biggest part of it is understanding who we are and
yeah,
our soul and all of that. And so
exactly.
do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just like you're saying, with our clients, um, what, most of them are women, like 95 or more percent of them are women. And the reason for that I'm finding is women are more inapt to do something about their health. Men are different. I'm fine, I'm fine, right? So, but women come into the program, as I was saying before, their identity is lost. They don't have boundaries set with their family, their and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but they don't put themselves first. They're sick, very sick.
Yeah.
Some of them are told, and this is crazy. Some of them are told, make by their doctors, make your essentially your dining. So make your arrangements, for and prepare for that, which is just crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of emotional past traumas and stuff going on that we help them through, and get their over time, get their identities back, and awareness back. And when they come into the program, the best analogy, since we're doing good with analogies today,
Yeah.
is they come into the program, they're freight train, they go in full speed with their disease, condition, issues. So Nourish puts the brakes on, but the freight train doesn't just stop. It takes time. Plus, we do things naturally through nutrition and possible supplementation, and some of the techniques that Kirsten uses with our clients, and exercise and stuff that we give physical. I'm a personal trainer, so physical exercises and other kind of exercises. And it takes time to to get back on track. It takes time to reverse the symptoms. It takes time to get the mind right.
Well, it's like you're creating a whole new pathway, really, right?
Well, yeah. I appreciate you asking that. That's what we feel, at least at the time of this conversation. A lot of other practitioners drop the ball because they don't look at the emotional stuff. They're great with labs and nutrition, and they're awesome with that, but they don't look at the emotional stuff. And if you look at the pathway I was talking about before, how experiences create emotions and feelings and blah blah blah, and ultimately that determines disease or health. It's a big piece that's being overlooked. It's more than just go meditate. It's way more than that, or go hug a tree or something. It's way more than that. And those things are good, but they're not really focusing extensively on emotional traumas. And then people have to be willing to do the work. Just like a gym, if you sign up and join a gym, you're not going to get fit. You have to do the work. Same with our clients. The clients that get the results, one, they do the work, but they really do the emotional work.
Yeah, you know what? It's everything. It really is, and it's such. It is work, and what I've found is that how can you not do it because you're in discomfort doing it the way that
Yep.
we have been doing it, and I believe with the energies of the universe and how fast we're at the fastest
Yep.
speed of the world ever. Like Greg Braden, the scientists show it, right? That it's secular and right, and the Earth has never had vibrations this fast
Yep.
ever. So we're all feeling this intensity, and it's not like there's one thing. It's like
Yeah.
with Chris, it's multiple things that are starting to go at the same time,
Right.
right? And so for everybody, it's different and at different degrees of discomfort, I believe.
Pick
But
your heart, right?
yeah, but it's like, so it's this discomfort and keeping that wheel rolling and
Mhm.
building that snowman, or doing the work and saying, okay, well, you know what, this is for me.
Mhm.
It's, and we all have it. Nobody
Yeah.
gets off on this. Everybody
True.
thinks, oh yeah, well, she's doing that spiritual thing or she's talking that energy work. You know what? you're going to have to as well
Right.
eventually, because we're all made of the same thing. We're
Yep.
all, like, you know, they say we're all one, even though we see that we're
Right.
all different, but everything is made up of the same
Mhm.
energetic value. And
Yep.
what I'm putting out is affecting you, and what you're putting out is affecting me. And
Yep.
and so eventually, if you're not on that snowball that's rolling, you're going to be
Mhm.
on the one that's discomfort,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
growing that one. And I just think that people sometimes like to say, oh, yeah, well, I don't have that. Yeah, I'm lucky. My life's great. Because that's not true, right? It's not true for any of us. We're all here to grow and to
Right.
expand. And
Mhm.
if we're not uncomfortable sometimes, then we're
Right.
not growing,
Exactly.
right? It's like being in the gym. Great,
Yep.
another analogy, right? If you're not sore the next day, then you know what? Probably you're not going to get the same. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like where you can't move. I've been there too, but if you
Well, after
haven't done
leg day, maybe.
anything to push yourself through something, then what? You stay the same,
Right.
right? And if we're
Exactly.
not growing, we're dying.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
You're never stagnant, right? You're either going forward or backward.
and we've all felt that,
Yep.
right? When we're
Exactly.
stuck, people don't want to be stuck. They run, I'm
Hmm.
stuck. I feel like I'm in the same place. Well, because we need to start making some choices and gain some
Hmm.
knowledge
Yeah.
from
You know.
people like you who have gone to school and done the work and are ready to share that knowledge,
Hmm.
right? I love it. It's huge. And I
Hmm.
love that it's not just nutrition or
Right.
fitness, right? It's the whole
Hmm.
ball of
Exactly.
wax that you're dealing with.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I know that I spoke with Kristen about this, but the program, tell me, what is somebody looking at to, they're going to give you a call and come on to nutrition. That's how you say it, right?
What's that?
Nutrition,
Yeah. Yep. Perfect.
nourish, sorry,
Oh,
nourish
nourish.
website.
Nourish.
And and what are they going to look at? They're going to say, okay, I'm going to phone them and kind of walk through something
The
that they would,
process.
yeah, something that they would just so that they kind of, sometimes people don't call or they don't
Right.
don't make that because they're, again, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So let's kind of just break it down a little bit. How
Sure.
hard or how easy is this for somebody to start?
I appreciate the question. So you're right. There are people who follow us for years before they do anything, and no judgment. That's completely fine. I understand. Timing is important. People have different things going on in their lives, so there's no pressure. But there's many ways to start. You can go to our website, which is nourish123, the numbers nourish123.com. And on there, there's a lot of information just about the company, how we do what we do. You can see the other coaches. You can, and probably the best and most important thing would be some of our client interviews. So over the years, we interview clients at different stages. After a couple of months, even after a couple of years, and just kind of see where they were when they started, what the program is, their experience with the program is like, where they are at the time of the interview. If someone wants the process, though, we have a two-step process, and we find that works best for us because if it's not a good fit, we don't want to waste anybody's time and spend an hour on the phone with anybody. So what we do is the initial call. It's about 15 minutes. I'll talk to them. I do all the initial calls. It's like a discovery call, and I just ask some questions to even see if or how we can help. And I just ask key questions, see what expectations would be, and if I feel it's a good fit, if I feel we can help, then I invite them to the next meeting, which is a meeting with Kirsten over Zoom like this. And it's not a sales call. It's just to get more information to see if it's a good fit, if our program is right for you, if you would be compliant, if you're teachable, those kind of things. And of course, you have to feel good with how we do what we do. And if it's a good fit, Kirsten will show them how to get started. If it's not a good fit, no pressure. She just gives them some recommendations, and that's it.
Nice.
The website to set up a discovery call, a 15-minute call, it's nourish123.com/heal. and then that'll put them on my calendar, and we just get on a quick call and talk it out for a few minutes.
Yeah, brilliant. So that then they feel energetically, you know what, this is going to go for me, or this
Yeah,
is not. I don't feel good.
yeah,
Then they don't
exactly,
call.
exactly. We don't, we're very and you know, no, we're very particular with who we work with, because we don't want to be something else on the pile of things that hasn't worked for you. You know, if you've been in working with various doctors and stuff for 20 years, we don't want to be something else on that pile. So we're not going to waste your time if we don't really feel we can help. So we don't, we don't work with everybody we talk to, and nobody should. I mean, there has to be chemistry there as well, and ultimately we have to see if what we do is a good fit.
I love that. I love that. That's so important. That's everything, I believe, right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's no connection, and there's no then there's yeah, yeah. It's a waste of everybody's
Yeah.
time, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Wow. So the two of you are little dynamos. That's just that's very impressive. I love that you guys are working together and doing that. It's
Thank you.
pretty, to have one is powerful, but to have two, that
Mhm.
it multiplies, right? It's just such
Mhm.
a yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So so what else do you want to share? Like what else do we want to
Well,
let people
you
know about?
yeah,
That
you brought up something interesting before when you started to say that we're all, made of the same things. So my head went right to, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, which I love, and anything I get my hands on that I can watch or read, I'm all over it. It's pretty amazing. But you're right, we're all, and this is kind of the woo woo part that you said before,
yeah,
that people like get, but it's science. It's not woo woo. It's science, that we're all energy, light, information, and frequency. And even before this call, if I can mention this, you just got a puppy, so that heightens your emotions, and then you vibrate at a different frequency. And when we vibrate at a different frequency, we become more energy than matter, and that's where healing really starts to happen. So I'm glad you mentioned that before.
it's everything, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I think sometimes they say, fake it until you make it, and then people go, okay, so but if you're not feeling it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But yeah, the gift of a puppy that lifts the frequency, and it's pretty hard to get down into those lower ones when you got a little puppy licking your
It
face.
is. It is. Like love, inspiration, gratitude, joy. These are all high frequency uh, emotions. Then, and I'm not saying never have doubt, fear, worry, anger, judgment. I'm not saying don't ever have those as part of the human experience, but we just don't want to live there. We just want to be aware that we're there, and get out of it. So healing can take place, and we vibrate at a different energy by being more in those higher frequency emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And just having that awareness is huge.
Yep.
It's huge. And knowing that difference and that feeling, and knowing when we're going down,
Hmm.
just starting to go into the spiral of the patterns of stories of
Hmm.
generations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
just that whole awareness. It's been life changing for me. And then I believe that it really lets us off the hook of beating the crap out of ourselves, because listening to those, what is it, 60, 80,000 thoughts that the brain is firing off every day.
Yep.
They're usually the same thoughts as the day
Yeah.
before, Joe says, right? And
Yep.
once you start to pay attention to that, and you start to listen to what those patterns are, it's a little disheartening.
Right.
Was for my kind of actually really bummed me out, because I had no idea that I had those kind of thought patterns running daily,
Hmm.
first of all, and then having that understanding of no wonder I'm crashing, no wonder I'm hitting the pavement,
Yep.
because something happens, because you're in that energy
Yep.
field of that same type of situation,
Hmm.
and boom, I get a whole other situation happening that isn't the same as the other one, doesn't look the same, people look different, but
Hmm.
energetically at the core it's that
Right.
same fear
Yep.
of whatever that was as the little girl. Not enough, it was my fault,
Hmm.
right? Whatever it is for everybody is a little different, but it's that is the life-changing moment of aha and healing and yeah. But
Exactly. Yep.
it's sure it yeah. And it's just about finding a team of people to that you can banter back and forth
Mhm.
with about it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. I mean, we have mentors, we get stuck with things. I'm not saying we know everything. We get stuck with things. So we have people we need to bounce things off sometimes. And we think we all need, some level of a maybe not necessarily a coach or some kind of a mentor to bounce things off of. But you're right, we have these thoughts thinking in the past. A lot of us live in the familiar past or the predictable future. It puts our body in a fight or flight sympathetic mode, and then our energy gets stuck in one of our first three energy centers, which are more survival energy centers, and people wonder why they never heal.
Right? That's it right there. I love that because
Yeah.
it's not that simplistic, but it's not.
It's not easy. I'm not saying any of this is
Yeah,
easy,
yeah. But
but
the
again,
simplicity of it is
right,
that.
right.
And had we all been raised knowing that we're energetic beings in an energetic universe,
Mhm.
right? And that if we just had that knowledge, I believe we would all live so differently. But we're all just kind of waking up to the fact that it is that's what is happening
Right.
here, right?
Yep. Exactly.
And yeah, and it's fun. It's such a better way to live life than the victim.
Yep.
Everybody's doing it to me. I have this because of that.
Yep.
But that's what society has dictated to us, and that's the box we've all lived in for so
Yeah.
many decades,
Yeah.
right? That
Exactly. And
this
sorry.
is all a new learning and a new
Right.
paradigm and a new way of thinking that's actually gives us our power back,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly. And what makes me sad, at least recently with COVID, is how there's so much polarity now and separation now, and there's just two extreme sides to so many things, whether it being
Oh,
politics, nutrition, beliefs, whatever it is, and that really makes me sad.
yeah, it was really devastating, wasn't it? I know
Mhm.
it really divided friendships, families. I definitely did experience
Mhm.
that myself for sure.
Mhm.
And I feel so grateful that we've kind of come back to a place where life seems a little more normal
Yeah, agreed.
than we were living under that fear,
Mhm.
just nonstop pounding out of fear. I have no idea what's going on in the world because I can't deal with it. It's
Yep.
just so negative
Yep.
and it's so fear ridden and it's
Yep.
not good for us.
Mhm.
And I just can't even have it on in the house anymore at
Yep.
all. And there was a few years there was a little news junkie. I just couldn't even. I loved my little local news, and they tell this and that. And I think because I was at home at that point and had never really been at home, and but it's funny you become addicted to that,
Mhm.
and it yeah. Anyway,
Well,
it's
I mean, this as much as I do. You get addicted to the chemicals. The chemicals that are created from feelings and emotions. It's no different than a drug addict being addicted to drugs. Or your body looks for this chemical fix, as crazy as it sounds. But our bodies are the best pharmaceuticals, the best chemical factories, way better than any pharmaceutical company, and we get addicted to the good ones like endorphins, and we get addicted to the not so good ones also.
yeah, yeah. That was a realization I had that I
Yeah.
pretty much have lived most of my life in fight or flight. So that was interesting to really come to that
Mhm.
understanding,
Mhm.
just from like a baby even, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then knowing that thankfully I don't have Addison's and understanding why my sister did get the Addison's but did come on after childbirth.
Mhm.
That just put her over the edge, I believe. But yeah, just yeah, it's interesting,
It
the whole
is.
mix of it. And it's about us. Like, how can you not love to learn about stuff that is affecting your
Mhm.
everyday mood, life,
Yeah,
like all of it? It's just, I love it. It's so exciting. All of
it
that.
is. It is. It is. You know, and you seem the same way. I'm a sponge. I always like to learn. Things change all the time, so you really, I think it's our duty to really learn at least about our own bodies and how it works and things like that.
Yeah. And so people saying, okay, well, I meditate. Yeah. And so meditation isn't enough. You need to have
Right.
you need to have the knowledge,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Knowledge gives
Medit
us our power to
exactly.
understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are
Well,
amazing, as your
thank you.
partner is in crime, and I'm grateful to have met both of you. And I know here I was telling her I'm going to be probably one of your clients because the nutrition thing. My whole life have been a little bit of a sugar addict, and I've passed
Ah,
that on to my children, which is horrific. And
ah.
my biggest problem, my biggest crime. So, but again, it's a pattern, and then trying to put it as a priority of all of the other busyness that we have going on, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes I think um, I am learning to try and put myself first, so I have something left to give.
Yeah.
But all of that is just, it's yeah, that woman, the mom thing, right? You look after
Yep.
everybody else, and then when there's something left, then that's for you.
Right. Yeah. Like you're right. I always say, how can you give 100% if you're not at 100%?
You got nothing to give. But no, but we don't know that. We think,
Exactly.
we're, the big, woe is me victim. I've given to everybody, and my mom did it. My sister, I see it all the time, right? How am I not doing that? Of course I'm doing that, because that's all I've ever seen and done,
Right.
right? And it's a society thing.
Right.
But when I realize that when I'm doing that, I'm pointing fingers and not looking at my part of it. Well, yes, there are things coming at us and people behaving badly,
Right.
and there
True.
is. I was going to the extreme and taking it all on, as I was
Mm.
accountable for everything, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the proper way to do that. I'll
Mm-hmm.
just say that right
Yeah.
now.
You're right.
There is a reaction, but I'm in that field for a reason, for me to have a look at if we're uncomfortable, because it's there to be released.
Hmm.
And it's just that energetic thing of going, oh, that's great. It's
Yeah.
all perception, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm really uncomfortable. Okay, there's something here that wants to get out. So instead of looking at like, oh my God, here I am again. How did this happen? How did I get here again?
Yeah.
Right? Asking the wrong questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like just that shift in perception of, okay, great, good. There's something else here I can release and
Yeah.
get out of my energetic system.
Exactly. Break those energetic bonds. Love
And
it.
and I think too, you were saying with the working out, the COVID, right?
Hmm.
Being at home for the first time in my life. I was a hairstylist for 30 years. Right? And then work in the film industry. There's people, and then all of a sudden I'm at home.
Yep.
And still dealing with lots of um, brain trauma and deaths and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So not in the best of space, and that whole not moving, we're not moving. So I started, dancing, singing daily. And even though you look like an ass, you've got to move that energy, right? Like shaking, I learned how to shake, right? Right. And it was like,
You're
how
gonna
did I never
demonstrate for
shake
us?
before? And you know what? You, with 5 minutes, you're a different person,
Yeah. Hundred
because
percent.
that energy has moved in your
Yeah.
body. And otherwise, we're sitting there and then still sitting there, and the energy is just sticking and sticking
Exactly.
and it's like a Velcro system, right? And so this is, yeah, all of it is huge. So
True. It
yeah,
is.
well, and so
Cool.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. And when I become one of your clients here shortly, uh, maybe we could do another interview, and we can I can share my process of moving through my sugar addictions.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to to leave off with?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the invitation. I had a lot of fun today. It's good being here. If I can leave people with something, there's only two foods. This is usually the takeaway I give. There's only two foods that we suggest nobody, regardless autoimmune, chronic illness or not. Two foods that we recommend people never eat, and that's gluten, which is wheat, rye, or barley, flour, pasta. I'm not saying it's convenient, but anecdotally, we've never seen a client get better that hasn't given that up for both of these foods. And the second thing, there's way more than enough studies and research out there on the negative impacts of gluten on the body. And the second food is dairy. So anything from an udder, then nut milks are fine. I'm talking about any animal dairy. Those are the two foods that we find never serve you. So I'm myself, I'm a gluten-free vegan. I'm not saying people have to be vegan, but that's my choice. Kirsten's more paleo, but she's gluten-free and dairy-free as well, which really is part of paleo. And so we kind of eat similar but different.
Yeah.
Where I'm all plants and she's mostly plants and a little bit of meat.
Yeah.
But no gluten, no dairy is my recommendation to your people.
And so just one quick question, the gluten-free noodles, is there any that you can have?
Yes, and here's where it ges interesting. Where it gets interesting is now you're talking about things that are going to be more and more processed, but there are some cleaner ones out there. But our favorite are sweet potato noodles. When we had the restaurant, they were a huge hit. They're not orange like you would think. They're clear, but they're sweet potato noodles, and they're really good.
Okay, I'm gonna try them.
Look for them.
I used to be a huge pasta person, not so much anymore. I've definitely gotten, but you're always looking for, okay, well, I want to have that still. So is there something I can substitute it with? So sweet potato, and do they come in a box, or is that something that you've got to
They come in a bag, more of a bag.
In a bag. Okay.
They come in, trying to think, because where you live, I would probably try like a supermarket or a health food store first, like a supermarket that has gluten-free items.
Yeah.
Like our local supermarket, it's not going to be anything to fries. They're awesome, but they have a section for like gluten-free stuff, and they have sweet potato noodles. But a health food store would be a good call as well.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go shopping. See what I can find.
Awesome.
Okay, well, have a good rest of your day. Great chat with you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.